viewers is the only thing.
Alright.
Which is
Yay.
And three,
They can't hear us.
Oh.
2, 1, and we're live.
Oh, we're on Twitch now.
Okay.
Wait.
We're live.
Yeah,
Wait, we're not live?
we're live.
We are live on
Yeah, we are
YouTube.
live.
Yeah?
Yay.
Finally. Sorry about the delay.
That's fine. That's fine. DC TV at its finest. Oh look, there we are. We are live. Awesome. So,
Or not
welcome
cue intro
everyone.
music.
Yeah. Welcome everyone to the first election results of 2023, where we will be providing commentary on the election and having a look at what the results are going to be. So, do we have any ETA on when we can expect the results? Was it about 15 minutes to half an hour, I think was what they said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's have a look here. So I'd like to welcome everyone else on the panel. We've got myself, the Donaticus. We've got Joe Gamer,
Hello.
the disgraced justice.
Wow.
And Blog is also here. Marty, rather.
Hello there.
I do that every single time.
Oh, 1 moment.
So, any thoughts, guys, on the current election?
Well, this election has been, in my opinion, very boring. Not much.
No, not much tea. Is there at all?
Not much policy debate. And it's kind of frustrating because when I look at a candidate, I do want to look at policies, and right now I just see names and no weight behind those names.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's what we know in our sort of previous discussion towards the event. We were talking about how this is policy-wise, this is a non-policy election. I mean, I've got a couple. I've gone through and I found a couple of policy posts in campaign that we can discuss. While we wait for the results. But realistically, it's been very sort of dearth of policy things. So realistically, it's going to be interesting to see how the results come in as a result of that. I think it's going to be very much a who does the best vote whipping and who knows the people and get the friendships. So yeah, should we have a look at some policy posts by people?
Sure.
Let's start with the People's Party, because the People's Party is the only party to have every single person who's campaigning for them actually campaign in #campaign. So that's rather interesting. So the first person on our list is a random intruder who's running for the House. Let me send a link of what I'm looking at in the thing. Sorry, guys, 1 second. Bear with me here. Technical difficulties. I'm going to make a little group chat very quickly so I can send you guys links so you can see what I'm talking about. I'm not even friends with Joe on Discord. Joe, friend me.
Yeah, give me a second.
We do need to impeach. I've been saying this for ages. We do need to impeach Joe Gamer. That is, yeah.
Oh no.
It's stealth. Yeah, that's how we got you.
Impeachment trial.
The first thing that we're looking at is random intruder. So I found this post by random intruder. Hold on.
Are we still on?
Oh, it's still streaming for me.
It's delayed,
Yeah.
but streaming.
Yeah. I can still see the stream. It's not closed down yet. We're having some technical. If we are still live, we are having technical difficulties, but don't worry.
Again, I blame Susan.
Don't ask me why. I just have a hunch.
I think the answer to all of Donut's questions are it's either my fault or it's N's fault.
No, there's a couple of times where it'll be ex-Laser's fault. And then there's that one specific incident where it's Nacho's fault. I won't mention it. No, I won't go into that one. I think we are still live, Marty. If we're gonna have dead air, I'm just gonna fill the dead air with talking about different things. So, have you got the link to Random Intruders campaign?
Yes.
Cool. So, Random Intruder says that Random Intruder had a dream that they only had one vote and it was for themselves. Please vote for me so my dream doesn't become a reality. It'd be interesting to see how effective that tactic is. What would you call that? Pity? Like a pity?
Hey,
Pity begging?
you gotta be different.
Hey, you got to do something in modern Redmond. You know, when policies don't work.
I mean that, and also some campaign ads are just words. So sometimes it's nice to have a joke. Uh-oh. I'm the only one on 9. Don't know what muted. I mean, even the classic image is kind of becoming the cliche. Too many, and in my opinion, that at least the image itself has way too many words on it. Or in this case, it's random intruder. Like if I scroll down for the one that we're on, Scipio's vote Scipio. I think it's Scipio pronounce it. Vote Scipio, vote equality. Like at least that one's short and concise. It's much more. It stands. Yeah. Then.
Sorry, I'm back. Nobody wants to read a paragraph of it, but let's read a paragraph of it. So, Random Intruder says, I will fight for improving worker pay, unions, and fair taxes. I believe that's what they promised to do last time they were elected, and they managed to achieve a couple of their goals. The main thing that they're campaigning, I believe, is the 70% minimum commission, which was apparently vetoed by the president last term. So that was very interesting. And however, we also have what's really nice to see is, long-time DC people will know that one of the spearhead campaigns of one of our most famous socialists, 1950 Minecrafter, was to remove congressional wages, and it looks like Random Intruder is picking up that torch. So that's very good to see as well.
His legacy lives on, even if it's only in bill rejected.
Yeah, it's a policy that never gets accepted. So yeah, as I say, sort of very boilerplate. Now, another member of the People's Party who has been campaigning is, and I don't actually know how to pronounce this one.
Oh gosh.
But it's Asuna Yuki Sao, who's also running for the House.
Sorry for butchering the name.
Yeah. This one's a really interesting campaign post because I think they go into more depth in their personal Discord, but they do perfect. So they've listed a bunch of policies that they want to campaign on, and actually put together some acts, which is really interesting. So, for example, they've got the Business Corporation Act. Many people want to incorporate their company as what is a business corporation? Especially a corporation is a business structure that functions as a clear legal thing. Shareholders own it, and the board of directors supervise it by appointing officers to oversee the company's day-to-day operations. A corporation can buy and sell and own property because it's a carefully thought-out legal person. It can also sign contracts, sue other people, and be sued. Keep in mind that a corporation cannot be a non-profit organization. A corporation is based in a city, or a private corporation created for profits. Most businesses are framed with a plan to buy benefits for their investors. I'm not particularly sure what any of that means, but it seems to have had a lot of thought put into it.
Are these like proposed, or like what they're going to propose if they get
I think
elected?
so, yeah. So they've got stuff like the non-profit. So it's a lot of corporation stuff. So, corporate business corporation act, I think, is the idea of making corporations, which I think we already have,
Or
right? In one-
like defining what a business corporation is.
Potentially, yeah. Um, I think potentially that's what they're pushing, that they're saying. Non-profit wise, a non-profit corporation is a legal thing that's been incorporated into law. There's legal control of purposes other than making profits. So there's a lot of stuff about legal definitions for stuff that currently doesn't exist, I think, is the idea. Although I do. And left. I thought I left
Oh,
for a second. I was like, what the fuck?
I thought Marty
Um,
left. I'm like, oh, that's not
That's a
good.
bummer, yeah. No, yeah, there's a so as soon as seems to be campaigning a lot of policy stuff to do with corporations and defining corporations in a weird way, which will be interesting to see if they do get elected. And then the one sort of jumped out to me was a Limited Liability Company Act, um, which I think is a real world concept
Yes,
for like
an
there's a lot of
LLC.
real an LLC. Which obviously means the person who runs it can't be sued directly for stuff the company does, which of course would be amazing to have on DC because that would probably be abused the fuck out of. I mean, just turn Tello into an LLC, right? That's all their problems
Oh
solved.
gosh.
Yeah, don't maybe not. So yeah, very interesting policies there, but they seem to be campaigning on a lot of their entire campaign is when I'm reading it here, seems to be just establishing real world company practices in Minecraft. So that will be very interesting to see. Any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, they're definitely good ideas. I want to make sure. I'd hope that they, before proposing all of these uh acts, they talk with other representatives, maybe more experienced ones, and see if they can refine it, make sure it's solid before posting, and then. Because I mean, some of these ideas look really interesting, like defining an LLC. Like these are definitely like newer idea. I mean, I'm also not a business person, but I haven't seen
No.
anyone try to go for an LLC, and maybe this could lead to bigger potentials in like smaller businesses.
It could definitely lead to a diversification for businesses, yeah. Um I would worry about abuse because it's such a
Yeah,
small
I mean,
scale
yeah,
thing.
and that's why I mean, all legislation needs to be refined, especially before posting. So like, I mean, especially since I think they are a newer player. I think. Sorry if you're not. Uh, this is the first time I've seen them run, but I also don't pay too much attention to some candidates just because I like a more experienced politician. That and I like a more experienced politician just for legislation purposes. Because like I can tell you as a judge and a justice that looking through legislation that isn't refined is very difficult because
It's really bad.
you,
Really causes problems.
yeah, it can cause problems in deliberation because like, well, it's not defined a lot. So it's like I'm gonna get this ruling out and it's gonna look really bad because this legislation isn't refined.
Mm. So that's where. Now we've got if we move on to the last person running for the People's Party in Bibbs FI4A. Oh boy, Bibbs is a current member of the House running for re-election, who was elected in the special election. Bibbs 2023 aims for worker laws, fixed tax rate, more sources of income, fixing loopholes, and encourage criminal RP. Yeah, right. There's the
Government
thing. So we
jobs.
don't have. So one of the things that I keep saying again and again is we've lost our working class on DC, right? Like we don't have a working class, and because of that, it's had such a knock-on effect on everything else. You know, that's like it's one of the biggest issues I think politically on the surface, trying to get that working class back. So anyone who's for doing that, I think is, would have my vote. But no one else is talking about it, only me. But what do you think they mean by workers' laws? they mean like harsher laws on workers, or like freedom for workers?
Less regulation, harsh work environments, stuff like no.
Like it could be anything. It could mean absolutely anything, right? And this is yeah. And I think this is what I mean by this being like last election, the last presidential election was very much the corruption election, right? And then the election after that for the House was very much was very much a follow on from that. This election very much seems to be a policyless election, right? It's just a personality thing. And all these campaign ads, in my opinion, that we've seen so far are very much they're just buzzwords, right? There's not, which is 90% of you normally see a lot of buzzwords like town rights, worker rights, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels different this time around. It feels like it's really just the end of it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see people take more of a actual look. Like these people who are like, for me, it feels like these people are running. A lot of the people who are running for the house just want to run for the house to be in the house. They don't actually have anything that they want to do in the house. I'm in the house, yeah.
Well, I mean, we also do have to understand that DemocracyCraft, its name itself, suggests government. So, like 99% of the people that are joining are going to be joining. At least when I joined, maybe I can't speak for the rest of people, but it was to get into politics.
Yeah.
But with that being said, sometimes experience does pay off.
Right, and like the common thing that I see people saying is like, you can't have a go at people for running for the house who don't have experience, because like that's how you get experience. And I think, well, no, there's towns. You can go get elections in towns. You can like you can volunteer as a clerk. You can work in a law firm if you want to get legal experience, which helps with the laws and stuff.
Yeah.
You can like get experience with newspapers, and you can like if you're a journalist, you can have experience in that regard. You can get involved in organizations like unions. There's like there are like we have unions that exist for like different things, like less and less these days because they've been dying off because people see the only way to get experience is to go into the house. But back a year and a half ago, it used to be different.
Yeah. I mean, before I ever ran, I got into law. I started at, I think it was Apex, and from there, like diverse myself in law, and then joined a political party, get involved in the political party heavily. That way, you can have refined policy, like and a political party that stands for something, not just like a voting block.
Yeah. Well, that's
like
the big thing that we talked about. Yeah, that's the big thing that we talked about before the streams on that we should probably elaborate on now is how the political parties that we've seen this past term have just been voting blocks. They're not a political party in terms of like having any policies or any things they want to do. It's just we're a group of people who want to get elected. Why do we want to get elected? Because we want to get elected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one thing you said that I actually disagreed with, and it was using the clerk position as an experience tool, which I kind of disagree on because clerk.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
I mean,
I know what you mean.
especially as a justice, looking at laws that have been amended or like constitutional amendments that passed as constitutional amendments and just haven't been added to the Constitution for like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like I recently came upon when I was looking at some case laws, like, well, do I count this as part of the Constitution or do I not? Like, I understand wanting to use clerks as a teaching position, but sometimes you do need an experienced person to, be able to amend laws and fix the Constitution because
I think
it happens a lot.
And I think this is something that the Department of Education really needs to step up and take on board is fixing these unpatched things, because no one else is going to do it. And I think that's going to be that needs to be delegated to them as a job. Is what we're seeing time and time again is so many laws are out of date. They've been amended, but and especially the Constitution, The Constitution's so bad at this point that I think what they need to do is they need to do the best of their ability to patch it, and then propose the patched version as a new amendment, just as a clean slate reset, and work from there, right? Because genuinely, otherwise, it's so screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I remember me and Justice Nacho were in a VC, and we're just talking about like, there are so many like a bill to yada 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 and amend the Constitution, and like parts of it get into the Constitution, some parts don't. But it's like then speaking from a judiciary point of view, like what parts are constitutional,
And
and
that's
like
the main thing that I have seen on that is the ones that N proposed, which have been a nightmare for me. And I think is the Judicial Standard Act, the Legislative Standard Act, and the Executive Standard Act.
yep,
Right.
those are the exact bills I'm talking about.
Right. They're the worst. Honestly, they're the worst. They're the worst defined bills I've seen on the server.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, they are not constitutional amendments at all. There's nothing in them that amends the Constitution. So I don't know why it says at the top to amend the Constitution. And I think part of it is as well, when you're amending the Constitution, just because you put amend the Constitution at the top, that doesn't mean it's you need to actually in the bill specifically specify this part is added to this part of the Constitution.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's not, and it's caused so many problems. And I think one thing that needs to happen is people need to sit down and have a real a reset, essentially, because things are so messy right now.
I would almost recommend like two things. I think two things that could help with this is expanding a legal field, because right now there are like a lot of potential lawyers out there that don't have a place to go. And I think that if we expanded a legal field, then representatives and senators could have like people that are like experienced in law. Because like Congress is a big job, but if we have like lawyers who are experienced in certain aspects of law, then I think that we could talking to lawyers that are experienced in like constitutional law could help like fix constitutional issues, or someone experienced in business law could help patch up business loopholes. But
that's a skills thing that really is missing on the server. Like, speaking, as someone who's got a lot of experience dealing with like rights and freedoms, that's my main go-to whenever I do illegal stuff. I always just hone in on rights and freedoms because it's so easy to like deal with. I've never had anyone come to me and it was once. Sorry, I've had someone come to me once asking for my opinion as a lawyer in writing a bill, right? But these people, they're proposing bills, and like for example, I saw a bill that was proposed the other day by Hong Kong, and at the end of the bill, Hong Kong just write anything in a previous bill that contradicts this bill is repealed. I'm like, what? Like what? Like that is what you're gonna write? Like that's how you're gonna deal with any conflict? You're not gonna do any research. You're just gonna write, oh yeah, anything that contradicts this bill is. Where was it? It was. There we are.
I mean, I think I
See,
probably would
all
have
provisions.
something I would have done.
All provisions of previously passed acts, contrary to the provisions of this act, will become invalid from the date of this act's promulgation.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and this is what, and so it gets very difficult,
Yeah. I mean, I understand. I understand using it as a catch-all because, I mean, at the end of the day, some lawyer, because what's what we're known best for, some lawyer will be like, "Oh, look, these two things conflict," and then use that as a loophole.
But that's what But I think these lazy sort of paint patches is very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean that's also fair. Like, there are it's always two sides to the
So
story.
what happens then under that scenario if say if a bill exists that has like a provision that was made invalid by that bill, right? But say then another rep is rewriting the original bill that is now invalid, that still exists because it's an act, and they amend it and they amend that part specifically. Would it still be invalid or not?
Yeah, I mean that's also a fair point. I also think that how we amend bills in Redmont can get very like as soon as a bill is amended, it becomes 10 times more complicated because amendments are the way that the amendment process is just so
I think
interesting.
I honestly think moving forward, we need to start looking at just repealing and replacing every single time instead of amending.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like for small things, an amendment may be useful, but like big things,
Repeal where, yeah.
yeah, repeal when needed because then you have end up with like 5 laws for one provision, and it's like,
Well, this is
which
don't
one do
even
I
get
use?
when I was doing the standardized criminal code, I found 3 different laws that define pet murder.
That sounds about right.
Like pet murder, you had pet murder, and then you had attempted pet murder. My favorite thing that I found when I was doing it was there was a crime called conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction. Well, the crime
Yeah.
was literally the crime wasn't use it was conspiracy to like that was what was written, which meant it was technically a crime that exists now. And before it doesn't exist anymore, I patched it, but with that provision, a crime exists called conspiracy to commit a crime of a weapon of mass destruction. Like it's just insane. Yeah, I like that. So you know,
Yeah.
So anyway, should we move on to another candidate in the SMP now? The only candidate for the House for SMP that I could find had campaigned in any way in #campaign, as far as I can see.
And an MC.
And an MC, a returning player.
I've worked with him
Again,
before.
yeah.
Well, but
Yeah,
only as AG. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
He
let's
seems to
see.
be he seems to. So he talks about here is a long and distinguished career as a lawyer. He has experience in all 3 branches. I don't see any policies again, which again just further.
It's just qualifications.
Yeah, it's just qualifications and experience, but no idea what he actually wants to do if elected. He is on my shortlist of people I think will be elected. I think, to be honest with you. But there we are. Vanilla, welcome. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. You actually can be our little spy, actually, can't you? Because how's the vote count coming along?
We finished the count. We're just
Oh,
getting things in order now.
Oh,
there we are. There we have it. We finished the count, and they are just tabulating the results. That's very good to hear. So,
exciting. We're getting down to the wire.
yeah. Do you think we can expect any interesting surprises from what you've seen?
I think there were a few that surprised me.
Yeah.
Of course, I can't disclose any of that information until it's public.
No, of course not. Of course not.
What?
Well,
You can't break the law for us?
Certainly not.
Come on, there's no witnesses here. Who?
Yeah, this definitely isn't being recorded and streamed.
It's just between.
Just between friends. I think it was a wonderful election.
Yeah, it's been an interesting election, hasn't it?
Of course, I can't speak on anything whatsoever about Senate, as I'm not allowed to count those votes. But for House, I think there was a wonderful turnout.
Oh,
How many?
that's good.
How are we looking? A big turnout?
A pretty decent turnout, yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we've got a big turnout, which is interesting. So I think a
It's
big
kind
turnout.
of shocking.
I'm a bit sure. I'm sort of shocked by that, but I would imagine that a lot of campaigning has been done in private for this election. Personally, I think that's the way it's gone. You know, the way it's gone.
I mean, and now that the do not call list is no longer a thing, it does make it easier for like one-on-one campaigning instead of just broad generalized stuff.
Yeah, and that's the way really to get the votes as well. So, very interesting. I think, yeah, I think it's interesting to see because the main thing we haven't touched upon is there are only 19 candidates running for the House for 11 seats, which means that only 8 people are going to be disappointed, right?
Only 8.
Yeah, only 8 people are going to be like. There's going to be more people who are happy than are sad, right? Whereas in the past we had something like I think in the last election it was like 30 something candidates, was it?
Oh,
In
It was a
November?
ridiculous number of candidates
In
last
November
time.
it was loads.
I believe it
Um,
was 30, but then there were, of course, some that got disqualified for
Right.
whatever reasons. But
Yeah. So yeah, there was like 30 people running in November, and now in January we're only seeing 19. So we're not many people are going to be upset. I think they're going to get elected, and from that, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a very poor night for the SNP. I think this is probably, I think if I have to make a prediction, I would say this is the last election the SNP is going to contest in its current state. I think this is probably the end for the SNP politically as a sort of big organization.
yeah.
They've been slowly sort of dripping and dying, losing sort of key players and key figures, and I think now, with this election, they've only got 5 candidates running, when every previous election they've ran 11, I think. So it just goes to show them that can't even run enough candidates to achieve a majority.
Do
So
you think that may be caused by Digi no longer being part of the leadership?
I think Diggy's influence on politics in general, not just with regards to the SNP, cannot be understated. I think if you had to name who is responsible for the shift from policy to personality, it's Diggy. Like Diggy, that's how Diggy did policy, right? That's how
Yeah.
Diggy did politics. It was all about
Sure.
personality. And he pushed his personality and other people's personalities. Built friendship groups, built those links, and that's how they kept getting elected, and that's how they achieved political power. And so with him leaving, I think we're seeing now is either this will be the last election done on personality, and we'll move towards a policy-based elections in what would it be in March, or we will see a very weird, interesting thing where you have a personality-based election without strong personalities, which is that's what this election is, right? Right now, this election is a personality election without strong personalities and strong
Yeah.
vote pullers. I think the only strong vote puller in the House is Elena, who I think is guaranteed to get elected.
I would be shocked if Elena isn't elected.
Yeah, I would as well. But
If you look
then
at
that might work against her. You never
True.
know. People
You
might
never know.
turn
Never know.
around and say, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for Elena because she's going to get elected anyway. I'll vote for someone else."
Yeah, maybe.
You never know. It's stranger things have happened. I don't know. It could be a weird night. So, yeah, very interesting.
What about the Senate race? I mean, it's not as many people, and a lot of
Yeah,
independents. A lot of
yeah.
independents.
I think the Senate race is a kind of a foregone conclusion in a lot of people's minds, right? I think Vanilla here is more or less guaranteed to get in with the dregs of the S&P vote, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
I think outside of that, the only other strong name is End. I think the only thing End will struggle with in getting elected to the Senate is how disliked he is. He's just sort of broadly disliked. And I think that will work against him. But there still is that vote that's left over from the Pirate Party that might still swing his way. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I genuinely think FTG WAP for the Senate.
Hmm.
Either that, AC is another name that's been thrown around for the Senate, and then Toon as well. I think is another front runner in the Senate. But everyone else in the Senate, I don't see. You know.
Sure.
So we'll see. It's going to be an interesting Senate. regardless. I think. But that's what you want a Senate that's going to be, with what I think with what we're expecting with this House, we're going to have a very inexperienced and
Senate, the new Senate needs to act more like a House of Review.
yeah, it very much needs to be a House of Review to block. Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting if Congress as a whole. 'Cause I know there are a lot of joint committees with this last Congress. If more bills that go to committees instead of just going right to the floor, have committees like review them, structure them, fix them.
Yeah.
Instead of just like sending every bill to the House floor, like we've done for a very long time. Having review committees, having select committees to review certain subjects.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's going to be needed. I think it's going to be necessary in this House if they, with what House we're going to get, with the inexperience, without the ability, with there being, you don't like to say it, but I think we're going to have some grammar and spelling issues in this new House. It's just inevitable. It's just going to happen with this House. So I think we're going to need that a better pipeline. I think, and that's something that I think a new speaker is going to have to be very hot on. Which I think currently the foregone conclusion is that Elena will be speaker. Will be speaker of the House if elected. I don't really see anyone with the qualification to take it up, other than Elena in the list. Maybe Marty if he gets elected, but we don't want to lose Marty from DCTV, do we?
Who's gonna make our stuff then?
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's going to be interesting to say the least. What happens? The worst case scenario that happens to the House is you get 6 or 7 people elected who are like, if you were to rank the people, and you put them on like a level of like ability, and you get the people who have the lowest level of ability, 6 or 7 of them, who all think that each other's bills are good ideas, and they also, because they don't know how to structure bills, they propose bills like the Chicken Walking Act, or whatever. All of those FTG bills, and in any other House they would be rejected instantly. But if we look at those FTG bills, we have a situation where this next House might actually pass them.
If the speaker brings them to the floor, because I know that
that's the thing.
Speaker Mahad hasn't been bringing them to the floor because they don't have co-sponsors. But I mean,
right. So
Elena could change that.
But Elena, what I'm saying is, if 6 or 7 of those people get elected, Elena might not be speaker, and we might have a speaker with no congressional experience.
Could happen. It's definitely a possibility, just because of how new.
Possibility.
I think it's a very high possibility. I think that's the way it will go. That's the way it will fall. Speaker will be Elena, or it will be someone with no congressional experience in the past. And if that happens, if someone with no congressional experiences in the past, the Senate's role is going to be paramount and very, very important.
Oh yeah. What about NNMC for speaker? I know that Elena is also an SMP, so I doubt there'd be 2 SMP candidates running against each other. But
they
I mean,
don't tend to do that, do they?
No, I don't think they would. But I mean, NNMC is campaigned on. I have tons of qualifications. I've experience in all forms of government.
Yeah, and I think the NNMC would make a great. And I've not seen much of them, but from what I have seen, they would make a great speaker. Yeah, they would definitely have the experience from their previous roles. So
very rounded experience too.
Yeah. So that's definitely a possibility, I think. Yeah, but what happens there? What happens? I don't know. I honestly don't think we can say with the speaker election. We have Elena joining us. Hello, Elena.
Hello.
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 what are your thoughts on what we've been talking about with regards to speaker elections? As a person who's currently the front runner in terms of people's consideration for speaker.
I think it'll depend on, honestly, who we see get elected. It really will, because I think some of the newer people may want a newer face, and I wouldn't fall in that category.
Mm.
They may want to see, somebody new in there who they think.
Well, I've seen a couple of people have said to me when talking about the election is what they've said is if when the new house comes in, they wouldn't want you to run for speaker because they want a new face.
Yeah, I could see that happening, and a lot of people voting for somebody new. But I agree with friends about if you put someone who's totally new to house in the speakership role. I mean, I think getting into house as is has a huge curve. Learning with it. And that's like for the current term, I had to actually like host a meeting with some people who were new just to explain to them like how house worked, because a lot of people didn't know. So I kind of offered myself up to try to coach people into how that worked and stuff, because a lot of people that came in last term had no idea what they were doing.
Right.
And I do that again, so I'll probably end up having to nominate myself regardless. I mean, because I wasn't I
think you'll have no choice as well to be the mother of the house, so to speak.
I'll
New
be
term.
The shape.
And that's something, actually, speaking of mother of that's something that we don't actually have as a tradition. But I think if there was anyone who would qualify for mother of the house, it would definitely be Elena. She's been in it long enough.
Right.
That'd definitely be an interesting, because that's an actual thing in real life bodies, isn't it? Where they have like the longest serving member of the body is
I mean, I think at this point I am the longest running female representative.
There we are. Definitely, it is. Yeah, definitely to that. I think it's time, Elena. I think it's time we had a male speaker of the house. Yeah. That's just a little joke between Elena. Back when Elena first ran for speaker, we campaigned for her to become speaker by telling people that it's time for a female speaker of the house. I think that definitely speaker of the house is on the cards for Elena. I think she's definitely the front runner. It's just, I think it's a matter of how the chips fall for the election. And how many votes go to the SNP? I think it's going to be really a referendum on the SNP, I think, as well.
Yes.
And its future. I think if all 5 SNP members get elected, that will cement the SNP going forward. But if we only see 2 or 3 SNP members get elected to the House, it's going to be disastrous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking as an SMP member and not as a member of the DOS, it does seem like we're on a decline that is inevitable, regardless of how many people we get in. There's been quite a bit of division within the party. It's just unlikely that it's going to survive much longer beyond this election, at least in its current form.
If you don't mind me asking, what kind of divisions are happening?
There's a lot of strong figures in the party. After Diggy's left, it's now kind of been an empty position as to who's really going to lead. Gold's been doing his best, but of course, there's other people who are interested as well. So it seems likely that the party is going to split off into its own little divisions. It's never really been a party that's been strong, united front on policies. More so, like Donut mentioned before, personalities has been our strong suit. So it's unlikely that we're going to survive much longer. I think policies will eventually play its role in how we get split up.
I think that's very much what we're looking at now. Is we're looking and this is what I said earlier about Diggy having a major part in the shift of politics and how politics is operated. And he's retired now, and as he's retired, what we're seeing is, Pirate Party's died, which was a personality party. Pirate Party's died. The SNP, people are talking about it being on its last legs. And we're seeing the rise of parties like the Libertarian Party. We're seeing, National Renewal Party, which is a right-wing party, and a capitalist party. We're seeing the People's Party, which is a very socialist party. And so we're seeing these political positions being set up with different parties and different things. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see if we have a return to a historic, a policy-driven election in March, which I think it will be the case.
Yeah. I mean, so what is it? Back in, let me check. Is it March 2022?
Yeah,
right before like the ICP ice cream party was on a
right.
huge uproar, and that was the last election. And now I was looking at the May election, and you just see a bunch of like different parties, like and a bunch of independents,
Yeah,
some
and that's what we're
uh,
sort of looking at here, isn't it? Right, a repeat of that. Hello? Oh, Joe, you there?
sorry, someone walked in.
Ah, okay, sorry. Yeah, and that's what we're seeing a repeat of here, isn't it? Like, what you saying? The May elections was when it changed.
Yes. Yeah. So the March election, it was a bunch of ICP members. May election, not one ICP member. And like there's some
And that's
SMP
when we saw. Yeah, that's when we saw the SMP start up. Yeah,
MHP, the Mad Hatter Party.
which then became the Pirate Party. But then
Yes.
again, Mad Hatter was another big hat, big umbrella, big hat party.
And the
For
DRP.
personality. And then the DRP as well, which again was another personality hat party. And I think, if you look historically, if you go back further, I remember, let's have a look here. If you go back to the March 2021 elections, the one I remember very well, and that was you had the BDP, the DEP, the RP, the SMP, you had NCP, NSR, you had lots of different parties, and then that very much went away, where it sort of became DPA, DRP, BDP,
Yeah.
you just saw two parties. And then you saw just the slow decline and just the shift almost towards, we very nearly became a two-party election system back in November, where I think it was back in November we had some GER, but the main front runners was SNP and Pirate Party.
Yeah.
And those were the ones who ultimately won as well. It was sort of split down the middle between SNP and Pirate Party as the next one. So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting to see how things fall. Shall we have a look at? We haven't actually had a look at some other
Campaigns.
campaigns for a while. So I've got one here for Hyperb.
Nice graphic. Nice simple
Yeah.
graphic.
Yeah, and I like. I think one thing about the National Renewal Party, which I really really like, is National Renewal Party's been very tight in their branding, where they all are using like blue and the
Yes.
same kind of, which I think is really interesting. And I'm really excited for NRP as a party going forward because I think they're going to keep growing from strength to strength. 1 second, I can't see what blog has put in.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as I say, Hyperb is a candidate who I think we've seen quite a lot of, right, in political discussion.
Yeah. I also do like the appeal to smaller workers. They're a local farmer.
Yeah.
Fresh fruit.
Right.
So they aren't in like a bunch of government jobs like many people.
Yeah. Yeah. Tonga time. So we got and it seems their campaign slogan is "Stand firm for the waves will break." Not sure what that means, but it sounds pretty interesting. So that'll be cool there. And I'd say NRP is one of those parties. It's been they're quite. I'm really interested in them as a party. I'm interested to see what they're going to do going forward.
Well, and
Um,
especially since the SMP sounds like it might be breaking up here soon.
they
Whether
could definitely
the
pick up. They could
NRP
definitely
will
pick up. Yeah,
get some membership.
they could definitely pick up some of that new division. I imagine a new party will pop up if the
Oh, of
SMP does
course.
fall apart. I think a new party, or maybe even two new parties. But at the same time as well, there are other parties that people can start going to. So really interesting to see what happens. But I think NRP they definitely have the opportunity to pick up some people, and I think we could see that happening, depending on how the results fall.
I mean, all the smaller parties, but I think the NRP is in a very good position, just with branding, name recognition.
Yeah. NLP definitely. So yeah, NLP has that. I think People's Party is in a strong position to pick up some of the more left-leaning members of the SNP, and then I think the Libertarians are also in a very good position as they pick up some more. Because again, you've got to remember the SNP. It's not like you have people in the SNP who are right-wing, left-wing, centre, everything, right?
Yeah,
And as they divide, if they divide based on personality and friendships, that will just become they'll become new personality parties. But if they decide to divide based on policy, we'll see them going to all different parties, and it will become a really chaotic and interesting election. I think going into March, so that'll be very interesting there. I've got one here for Pepper5980, who is running with the Libertarians.
Oh, wait. Results are in.
Oh, results are in. Oh, just
Yep.
now. Okay, let's have a look here.
So
So
Why does it have only 8 reps listed?
it looks like we're going to have a runoff for the
Oh.
House.
yep, like
Yay.
always. When has there never been a runoff?
Or potentially, or either a runoff or some ties. But we've got, so the House is looking interesting, to say the least. First of all, big shock in the Senate. Vanilla Chai and Toon being elected in the Senate. And then House of Representatives, Elena, as expected. Congratulations, Elena. Marty, as expected. Congratulations, Marty. We've got Bibbs re-elected. Random Intruder re-elected. Asuna elected. That's all members of the People's Party were elected, which is very
Interesting.
interesting to see. Hyperb elected. Big Papa for 140, who is a Republican, not Republican, Libertarian, I think, elected, which is very interesting to see. Scipio, who is an independent, elected. And then 3 Super Mario candidates tied within the House for 2 seats, and 2 independents have tied for a seat. So we're still waiting on 3 seats in the House.
Goodness.
So we should have a runoff. So how is the votes looking down? So in the SNP, we've got, that's very interesting. So in the SNP, we've got Elena with 16 votes and Marty with 7. Ultra Noob has 3 votes. Gertis has 3 votes, and NNMC has 3 votes. So that's
I'm
very interesting to
surprised.
see. Yeah, I'm very surprised there as well. People's Party picks up a huge amount of votes, with Bibbs picking up 13, Random Intruder 8, and Asuna picking up 5. I think that's more votes. Is that more votes than the SNP? No, it's not. But still, it's close. And for the number of candidates they ran as well, they should be very happy with that.
Oh yeah.
NRP picks up 1 vote, 1 seat with Hyperb, has 6 votes. And then the RLP picks up Big Papa with 5 votes. And then we've got an independent in Scipio. So we're looking like now will it be a runoff to decide the
One of the independents and
one of the independents
is it 2 of the SMP?
and 2 of the SMP? Yeah. So between Ultra PvP Noob, Gertis, and NNMC, I think it's a foregone conclusion who's going to win that those SMP seats. That's very interesting.
I'm kind of surprised that how well the People's Party did, I mean, they were
I'm
only
very surprised.
6 votes off of the SMP. That's insane.
Yeah, that's really big for them. They should
Wow,
be very happy with their turnout.
huge pickup.
So now that the
Yeah.
results are out and I'm legally allowed to discuss it, they're, they're honestly who I think might be the next big party. I mean, they were so neck and neck with the SMP. They've got wonderful leadership. I think they might be the next big party.
Which will be very interesting because they are a socialist party.
Mm-hmm.
New wave of
Um,
socialism. Here we go.
I'm very
Yeah,
curious to
right.
see what kind of changes they'll make now that they've got so many in.
So what's the power dynamic? We're gonna have 4 SMP, 3 PP, 1 NPR, 1 RLP.
2 independents.
Yeah. So no clear majority. I mean,
No
this
clear
could,
plurality,
this could
yeah.
make a speaker election close if the
I
people's.
think it's speaker. I think there's going to be a definite. I think realistically now, the speaker would be. I think Elena would be my front runner, and then Random Intruder would be the next runner up.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
I think she'd be interested in it.
Yeah, would be the next runner up for it. Very interesting to see, indeed.
Wow.
If
Should we
we
turn
quickly move if we look at
Senate?
the Senate results,
Let's see.
Toon has won an incredible 30 votes.
Absolutely
my gosh.
dominated the polls.
What the
Completely
heck?
dominated.
A major round of applause goes out to Tuin.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did it.
I imagine based on personality, right? Because I didn't see any campaigning from Toon at all.
No.
And then Vanilla, congratulations on picking up 16 votes. And then, surprise, surprise, End has picked up 14 votes, which I'm quite surprised by. I thought he would pick up less than that. So he should be proud of himself. But sadly, Real 42 didn't pick. If only one more person voted for Real 42, we would have had a very high chance of End not actually getting in. Oh, that would have been amazing. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens going forward. I think this is going to be an interesting, definitely an interesting house. A lot less chaotic, I think, than expected. I think. We'll see. I think more. It's going to be interesting to see how the People's Party and SNP work together.
I'm surprised. There's a lot more votes that happened in the Senate race than there were in the House race. I mean that there's 9, like in total votes, not kind of including the disqualified ones. Just like sheer number of people that voted. There's like 9 more people that voted in the Senate race, which is pretty significant. Like that's not a small number.
Right.
Why?
Okay, so that means it'll be Elena as speaker then, probably. Foregone conclusion there.
Unless something shocking happens, which
unless something really, which I don't see happen. I mean, how would that happen?
I don't know.
Now, Elena, would you be interested in running with Random?
I think that Random and I could make a good team. I know that not everyone is a big, Random Intruder fan because I think that she's very aggressive in like what she wants, but I kind of like that about her because I'm kind of the same way sometimes, but I feel like that would make us work well as a team and get stuff done.
My problem with Random Intruder purely goes down to the fact that Random Intruder doesn't work with other people, which I'm hoping that she has learnt from the last Congress isn't working for her in getting her legislative agenda pushed, because she's not really achieved much in the last Congress. I think going into this next Congress, especially if Random Intruder wants to step up to deputy speaker, she needs to look at, when she wants to get a policy done, she needs to have a broad consensus for that. There needs to be a broad appeal, rather than just, saying this is what I think should be done and this is how I think it should be done.
Kind of interesting that Random doesn't want to run. I would have thought with this, this is no small victory for the People's Party. I would try to
Really not.
see if you can. I mean, if
The
Hampshire won,
only problem I think the People's Party will have is they're not going to flip NRP votes. They're not going to
No.
flip Libertarian votes.
Mhm.
You know,
True.
SciPO has campaigned as a socialist, right? Like SciPO changes with the fucking wind, but SciPO is campaigning as a socialist right now. So that's four left wing votes, right? And then so that's 4 versus 4 SNP votes.
Hey, you only need a majority.
And I think that's the thing. I think it's going to be very interesting.
I mean, now that she isn't running though, I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to be anything too divisive. But I think it would be interesting to see how if Random could have gotten maybe S&P members to split, because I mean, Vanille talked about how S&P is going through a
bit of a division,
some fractures. If any of those fractures are going to maybe leak into Congress,
it'll be interesting to see. Very, very sadly, FTG has not performed well.
I mean, are we
at all.
surprised?
I mean, I'm surprised myself because as I sent FTG WAP my voter lists and said, "Go on, have fun, message these people and whip." It doesn't appear that FTG has done that.
So, out of curiosity, since you did make a voters list, what's the percent right? How much you get right?
Pardon?
So you made a list of. Did you make a list of?
I had a prediction.
How well did that go?
Let's have a look. 1 second. Yeah. Where is my prediction? Sorry, 1 second. Let me find my prediction. Again, my prediction was based on
FTG WAP taking every vote.
No, it was based on it wasn't based on data this time. It was just based on opinion.
Sure.
Here we go. So my prediction was Elena and Marty from the SNP, and then I predicted it'd be for the two. I literally I predicted SNP would get 4 seats, and I predicted it'd be Elena or Marty getting the seats, and the other 2 seats would be a toss up between Gertis and NMC on Ultra PvP Noob. So I got that correct.
Nice.
I predicted Bibbs would definitely get a seat, and Bibbs got the most votes in the PP. I said Asuna, and then I said the other seat. I said I only thought People Party would get 2 seats, and I thought then it would be a toss up between Asuna or Random Intruder. So I was wrong there. I thought Chris Org would get a seat. It looks like he was off by quite a lot, so I was very wrong there. But I thought Scipio would get a seat, Hyper would get a seat, and I thought Big Papa would get a seat, which I was right. So I got 2 wrong.
That's not
quite happy with that.
We still have runoffs to go.
I have a 80% accuracy for my prediction. I'm pretty proud of that.
I mean, and going back, since you had FTG getting into Congress, I mean, that does kind of show that how FTG WAP did leave a sour taste in voters' mouths. I mean, what he only got 3 votes.
I think the biggest surprise is Toon is the big upsetter in the Senate. I have no idea how Toon has pulled that off. But my God,
name recognition. I mean,
yeah, really is.
No, I mean, I don't know any of Toon's policies.
I don't know if they have any policies.
I'd be interested to see.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look if they've put anything in campaign. Yeah, no. The last time Toon posted in campaign was May. Sorry, May.
That was a while ago.
Campaigning for Diggy and Honey for the election.
They have a grand total of two messages in the campaign. One saying F and one announcing that they were the DER pick.
Yeah, People's Party's done really well, and I think honestly, People's Party has made a mistake in not running more candidates this election. they could have really done something interesting had they ran more candidates.
So, obviously, People's Party is the big winner in this election. Who in your opinion is the loser in this election?
NRP.
NRP.
The NRP. I think what we said before about NRP. How I was quite. I'm quite happy with I like the NRP's branding and everything, but they have a long way to go now. I think going forward. I
Yeah.
would say the NRP are definitely the loser.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then I think the Libertarians should be quite happy with themselves for being a very new party. Picking up a seat under the conditions where they're not too well known. They should be quite happy with that. It'll be interesting to see. But 2 independents is going to make this Congress very, very interesting indeed. There's going to be a lot of flip flopping, I think, in this Congress.
I mean, and if you look at the total vote count, like NRP to RLP, they're 1 vote off. Yeah,
Right. That's
one
the
of
thing.
that's pretty good.
And that's bad for the NRP. NRP ran 3 candidates, all of which they got 1 elected, but by a hair.
So if I were NRP leadership, what I might start doing is going. So obviously, it seems that Toon's strategy but Toon also has name recognition. But maybe like talking more to voters instead of just general campaign announcements and stuff like that.
I think what the NRP really needs to look at running some candidates that are going to be pullers in, because what we're seeing big time with the SNP and People's Party is SNP Elena brought in a lot of votes for the SNP, and Bibbs has brought in a lot of votes for People's Party, and that's helped them a lot, right?
Yeah.
The NRP doesn't have a candidate like that, so.
No. Very interesting election results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very friendly. Oh,
I think from sticking my nose a little bit into politics, I have heard maybe a grand total of 2 complaints from Toon, and too many to count from End. No offense, End, but I mean, just comparing the amount of grievances I've heard, it's not a lot. It's not a lot. I'm gonna get pinged in. I'm gonna get pinged in politics. Leave, sir. No. Is there any representative elects that are currently typing in politics and interested in coming in? Because I have to recollect. I think Donaticus is having phone issues. So
I think we could try and get Hyperb. He's got actual real life political experience, so he's a very strong candidate. Hopefully, him, Elena, Random, and a few others will be able to spell check if that ends up being an issue.
Yeah.
Grammar check.
hey, Microsoft Word is where it's at. I have the lifesaver. Better than Google system, in my opinion. But I don't want to get too political.
English was my favorite subject in schools.
Oh, Random Shooter said that they got stay muted, which is kind of defeats the purpose of a. Let's see. Let's see. So, Elena, since you're probably gonna go for speaker, and you're probably the most prominent candidate, what are some things you want to see done during your speakership?
Hey, to be fair, I've never said I wanted to run. Everyone's been saying that for me.
Okay, it seems.
I have yet to confirm anything.
Hey, you know what? As me and Donut have speculated, Elena may be the number one candidate, and if Random Mature isn't going to run, it would be a very easy victory for you. Can we? Can you? Do you want to confirm a potential run?
Yeah, I'll confirm a potential run.
And there you have it, folks.
I think the biggest
That's journalism.
to make sure that, like, I think there was a lot of inactivity with getting bills put up to vote and stuff. Like right now, even some of FTG's bills are still just sitting in the dock right now for whatever reason. I don't understand that. So
So
try
I
to.
think that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. Go for it.
I think Speaker Mahad or former Speaker Mahad didn't put those up because they didn't have a co-sponsor. Now I could be wrong, but I could be wrong. But I think that was the main reason he didn't put up to Flourish because they didn't have a co-sponsor, which I believe is against the LSA.
I'll have to double check that because I know there was some discussion about how some of his bills had a co-sponsor, but the co-sponsor was Yeet Boy, who had been banned. So there was a discussion about if it was a banned play, if they could be put up to a vote, or if it was null void because of the fact that they weren't a current rep. And I was very adamant about the fact that, like, if they were proposed legally, they still had to be put up for a vote. But Mahad was like questioning if they should be put up or not. So I really didn't agree with him on that. If it's proposed legally, I don't see why it wouldn't be put up to vote. So that's the reasoning. Like, if it's because there's no co-sponsor, I could see that. But if it's that there is, but it's someone who's been banned, I don't agree with that. And I think it needs to be put up for a vote. If it was proposed legally, it needs to be voted on.
I think that was, if I recall correctly, that was where the holdup was Yeet Boy had been the one to co-sign all of the bills. So they were waiting to see if it was legal since it was a gray area. But that was the last I heard. I don't know if it still was the case. Of course, now it doesn't really matter. It's the next house's problem.
Let me go and look because now I'm curious if they have a co-sponsor or not. But if they, I don't know. I was very on the side of if they were proposed legally, they should be voted on.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
I was
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations
you.
on becoming representative-elect, soon to be representative.
Thank you so much.
Can we hear your thoughts on the election and the results, especially when it comes to the NRP's vote count?
I for once was pretty surprised on the amount of voters we got for the NRP. It was for me really fun to run, but the NRP got 9 votes, which is really good for our party. And while listening, I know that the SMP will be losing. I mean, not losing, but like dying down and going to a place where it's speakable, but like it's dead. And they've done a very good job in terms of policies, and but now is the time for new parties to blow up and make and go off of what SMP did, and NRP is one of those parties. NRP is more of a centrist party, more like it, and we are going more to the right, as you can see. But I think that's all I had. It's just quite amazing how many votes we got.
So you mentioned that your party is starting to head more to the right. How are you going to since you're the single economic right or representative elect in the House compared to the People's Party, which has 3 candidates, Scipio, who has campaigned as a socialist. It's like a 4-to-1 when it comes to actual economic policy, 4-to-1 in favor of socialism. So how do you plan to combat that or get maybe more of your economic policies in?
So if we want to get some of our economic policies in, as I said, we will try to do more of what is our goal and how can we get there, and could we change this goal during the meantime. I won't be like forcefully saying, oh my gosh, we should do this and this and this. What I would be doing would be more tame, and because it's now more of a left-wing government. I for once I am happy that we have a left-wing government, and I am willing and able to support and go into the middle and have bills that are bipartisan in terms of economics and social and other ideas. I'm open to more ideas as well, and I'm willing to work with other representatives as well.
Any other guests have comments for that? Oh. No.
Nope. I want to say again, congratulations, and I look forward to seeing what your party brings to the table. Do you think that your party could potentially grow to reach the People's Party?
Sorry to stop your question, but yes, I have a really good idea of how our party can grow and develop into what it should be, and other people can put more ideas forward to help us grow. We currently have a pretty good leadership. We have HKE, who's won elections in the past and has done really well in Congress, and we just appointed new executive committee members. One of which was on the I hate to say this, but the Tello, but I think they will do well, and Gallivant, who will also do well in his position. We are currently looking at, oh shoot, I also forgot, Chris Org. Chris Org is a really good member as well, and I'm sure as well that willing to work with people to make our a National Renewal Party larger and more prosperous. The funny thing is, the funny thing is that we have one ad that's for our party expansion that says the NRP is here to gaslight, gatekeep, and girl boss our way to prosperity. Big controversial, but it works really well. Any more questions? I'm willing and able to ask more. Blog, Eliana.
Seems like Elena and Vanilla are muted.
Yeah.
You did mention Tello, and this goes out
I
to
did.
either like any of the Representative Lex in the chat, or or senators. But banking and how like Tello's management has come under fire because of the recent allegations, breakthroughs, and PR troubles. Do you plan on doing anything to help protect the banking sector, or put more regulations on the banking sector? That way, another situation like this doesn't happen.
I will try to go for new and not restrictive, but like regulations that help to protect people's money through banking. I don't know how I'm going to word this out in the bills, but it may help the banking companies be more strict on their selling and buying capabilities. With Tello, I am quite new to that information because I didn't know about that happening. So I would say more regulations to help the money of the people who put their money into the bank get protected or be protected.
Vanilla, any thoughts? Oh. Wow. Marty, do you have any thoughts? Oh.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah. If you don't have any more questions, I will be able to do my normal business on the on a new company called the Vermont Produce Company. Thank you for your questions, and I appreciate the congratulations, and I would say back congratulations to Eliana and Vanilla for getting their positions, and I am hopeful that we can work together on solutions that help our help Redmont grow and be prosperous in the future. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, and congratulations again.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Bye. Like and subscribe for more.
Really not clickbait.
Nope, this was an election live stream.